Two units form the Agile team. First, we have the client-facing unit, which you can also think of as the business unit. The people that form that team are, first of all, the client, which is the sponsor of the project. You also have the marketing team, which is your company's marketing team or the company the product is for. If your company is a consulting firm and has been brought in to assist on a project at another organization, then it would be the marketing team of that organization. The product manager is the person that manages the operations of the product, and they are also part of the client-facing unit. And then, of course, we have the executives, which I would consider to be anybody at director level or above. We also have the SMEs, which are our subject matter experts. Those are the people that work with and or support the product. So they're the ones that really are working with it day in and day out and really know all of the nuts and bolts of the product. So they're able to answer your questions on how do you do this? What happens if a customer asks for this? How do you go through this process? They should be able to answer those kind of questions. We also have stakeholders as part of the client-facing unit. Those are people or groups that have something to gain or lose from your project's outcome. The reason I'm mentioning something to lose here is think about it in terms of when you're making an update to a process, there are sometimes things that are removed from the process as we're making things more efficient. And that can take out steps that a particular group of people were doing or take out a process altogether that a group was doing. So a stakeholder that is losing something could be a group that is no longer going to have to perform a function because the changes that are being made are making things more efficient and that function is no longer needed. And then, of course, there could be other people involved depending on what the project is. So you might need to consider customer service reps, sales staff, maybe receptionists if, for example, the software is maybe a hotel reservation system. So you would have front desk workers, any of those kind of people that you might have to think about that could be included as either SMEs or another group of people that might need to be involved in the project. And then other product managers and or stakeholders. So who else might be involved besides the stakeholders that you've already thought of? Are there other people that may be affected? Now let's take a look at who's included in the development unit. We have, of course, the developers, right? Those are the people that are coding, they're developing the application, they're making changes to the actual software. The business analyst, so this is the person detailing the stories during the grooming sessions with the business unit. So if you are the business analyst, then this is where the bulk of your work is going to be done on the Agile team. QA is also involved in the development unit. So the QA team are the people that are doing software testing, procedure testing, process flow testing, anything other than the unit testing, which is typically done by the developers because they're testing their own code before they're turning it over. So unit testing is not included in QA. That's part of the developer function. But any other testing that's happening is typically included in the QA function. And then the project manager. So the project manager can be separate from the Scrum Master, or the project manager can also be the Scrum Master. I have seen this both ways in different organizations I've worked in. So it just depends on how your organization is set up and how they are defining roles and responsibilities within their organization. So you may have a combined role where the project manager and the Scrum Master are the same person, or where they are separate roles performed by two different individuals. Next, we have the technical writers and or training manual writers. They are responsible for creating technical documentation and or training documentation. Training documentation may be done by the client unit. So somebody from the business unit may be assigned to do the writing of the training manual. Again, it just depends on how the organization is set up at the company that you're working at. So I have worked in organizations where they have not had a dedicated training manual writer. So the technical team that did the technical writing would also create the training materials. And I've also worked at organizations where the business unit, right, the client facing unit, had a training team and somebody to write the training materials. So it just depends on how they're set up. If they do have a person to create the training materials as part of the client facing unit, then they would be included in that area rather than in the development unit. Then we have our UX and design creative people. So they are the people that are defining the look and feel of the application and the user experience. Then we have the architecture people that are also included in the development unit because we're talking about system architecture, database architecture. It's more of the technical architecture rather than anything that would be business related. And then we have another kind of other category, right? So any other IT or IS staff that is necessary to the success of the project. And again, that is dependent on how your organization is set up and what that particular project is for as to what other units might be involved in that particular project.